Welcome back to the channel. Today we'll be making breakfast fried rice. This is a favorite for Michael and I. Michael loves this dish. He loves eating it. I enjoy preparing it because it's very easy to make. It's called breakfast fried rice, but we more often have it for dinner than anything else. It's a very quick dinner to throw together. So today, to prep for the meal, we'll be chopping up 6 green onions, separating the greens from the whites, and then we'll be using 6 strips of bacon. Now, you do not have to use this many pieces of bacon. The first time that I made this, the only complaint from Michael was that there wasn't enough bacon, so I slowly added additional strips of bacon until he was satisfied. So we're at 6 strips of bacon. I'm hoping we won't be adding any more, but for you at home, you might want to start off with 4 strips of bacon. The recipe does yield for 4 servings, so 1 strip of bacon per person, I think would be a great substitute. So let's get started. So now that we have our green onions chopped, we're going to move on to the bacon. A question commonly asked on this type of content is what type of knife is being used. Believe it or not, I am actually using a IKEA knife. It's an 8-inch vegetable knife. Michael originally bought these knives, and I ended up being very impressed with the quality, and you can get them at such a deal that it's a very impressive quality. And my mom actually came over to my house to help out with dinner one night, and I had these knives, and she was chopping tomatoes, so I let her use one of these knives, and she asked me where I bought it, and I told her IKEA, and she really didn't believe me. She was also very impressed with the quality of the knife. They stay sharp, very easy to maintain. I got her hooked on the knives, and I've been able to gift her the set. So a nice, easy, cheap gift, honestly, and a great knife. So that's what we're using today. All right, so now that we have our bacon chopped, our green onions chopped, we're gonna head over to the stove and start cooking, so I'll meet you there. All right, so we're at the stove. This recipe, as is dairy-free, very easily substituted gluten-free with gluten-free soy sauce. If you don't need to be gluten-free, you can use regular soy sauce. But I like to add butter to my eggs to make them very fluffy. And with this being kind of a take on a breakfast recipe, I like more of a scrambled egg consistency. So to replace the butter, I am using Earth Balance Original Butter Spread, which is vegan, so it is dairy-free, and it's basically a combination of different vegetable oils. So I have been very happy with how this Earth Balance brand does when cooking and baking. So that's what I'll be using. I do have my 5 eggs. I went ahead and cracked them. I have the green onions that were chopped earlier, the bacon that was chopped earlier, 4 cups, about 4 cups of prepared rice. Typically, for traditional fried rice, you use leftover rice. So you want it to be cool so it doesn't stick to the pan. And then we'll also be using sesame oil, gluten-free soy sauce. I like the lower sodium. And an optional addition as well is sriracha hot sauce. If you're making this for a family or somebody who doesn't have a palate for spice, this is totally optional and can even be added at the end to an individual plate if one individual prefers the spice. So let's get started. I have my stove on high. I'll let it heat up a little bit, but I'm going to add my butter first. And I'm just going to take a little bit of the butter, maybe about a teaspoon and a half. And we can see that butter is really starting to melt down. And the first thing I'm going to add is my 5 eggs. My secret to extra fluffy eggs is 1, the butter, and 2, using a whisk and not stopping whisking until your eggs are cooked, and to pull them off the heat right when they're cooked. And on this high heat, the eggs are going to cook very quickly. And I can see them start to form, so I'm going to pull them off the heat for just a little bit so they don't get overheated. I don't want them to cook too quickly. And remember, when you pull the eggs off the heat, you're not taking away, you're not really taking away heat because the heat is stored in the pan. So they'll continue to cook even off of the high heat. Okay, I like how these are coming together. And I don't know about you, but I'm not one for runny eggs, so I'm going to make sure that these are cooked, not runny. Okay, pull them off so that we don't overcook. And I'm putting them on a plate set aside. All right, so we're back on the heat now. Don't worry about getting every little piece of egg out of the pan. I tend to like it when it kind of forms a crust, and I think it gives a different texture to the dish. And as we add our bacon and that bacon starts to cook and form that grease, it'll pick up any residual egg that might be left over. All right. So we're going to spread out the bacon. And here I'm using a 12-inch nonstick pan. This is the largest pan that I have, and it's a little small for all of the ingredients, but this is the only pan that I've used, and I do like the pan overall. So I would just recommend that you use the largest pan that you have available. It might get a little messy, but that's part of the fun of cooking. And the key to cooking with this much bacon is to have as uniform of pieces as possible. My pieces do appear to be pretty uniform, but they are larger than what I typically use. If they were a little smaller, they might fall into place a little easier, but I want to make sure I'm getting a good crust on these before flipping them. And I have to say, this meal is delicious. But my favorite part about this meal is that everything is cooked in one pan, so cleanup is really easy. It's great for a weeknight. All right, we're starting to get that nice crust. And you can cook the bacon to your own crispiness preference. In my opinion, for this dish, the crispier the better, but the more you experiment and the more you make it, you can figure out what works best for you. Bacon's cooking up. We're getting a lot of that bacon grease come up. Don't worry, we'll be dumping most of the grease, using only a little as an agent to help cook the green onion whites. But let's get this bacon cooked up and then we'll continue on. And as the bacon pieces cook, I'm pulling them out of the grease and putting them onto a paper towel to allow the towel to absorb any residual grease from the pieces themselves. All right, so now I've got all my bacon cooked, resting out to the side. I'm going to dump a lot of this bacon grease, only leaving maybe a tablespoon to a tablespoon and a half for cooking purposes. All right, so I've dumped the grease, just really looking for something to coat my pan, and saute the green onion whites in while those cook. So we're going to put in the only the white parts of the green onion, and these are going to cook really quickly in this hot bacon grease. So we're going to watch these quickly, and we're really not going to cook them any longer than 45 seconds, I would say. We want to keep moving these around, make sure we don't overcook these. You can smell that fragrant onion, and I think we are there. I am going to add 3 tablespoons of my gluten-free soy sauce, and I've got a great 1.5 tablespoon measure, so we're only going to take 2 of these. And now we're going to add our prepared rice. And the rice is going to take on all these beautiful flavors of the green onion white, our gluten-free soy sauce, and of course the bacon grease. In my opinion, that's what really makes the recipe, is how the flavor of that bacon grease really takes on an important role. All right, I've got all my rice in here. And my favorite part of fried rice is when there's little crispy pieces from the frying of the rice. So once I get this mixture evenly distributed, I'm going to let this sit for a little bit and get a nice crisp to the bottom. Also, to make this healthier, you can add rice cauliflower. Do a mixture of rice cauliflower and the rice. You can use brown rice. You can add veggies like frozen peas and corn. You can even be real bold and add like a rice broccoli. There's all sorts of possibilities to add some substance to this dish. Michael gets mad when I make it too healthy, though. Okay. Let this sit for another 15, 20 seconds. Oh, see, I love these pieces. And like I said, we're having this for dinner tonight, but my favorite thing in the morning is leftover breakfast fried rice from the night before. It is even more delicious the next morning. All right, our rice is cooked through. So we are going to add about a teaspoon of the sesame oil, which I'm just gonna kind of eye. Sesame oil is one of the most important parts of that traditional fried rice flavor. I'm gonna get this mixed in, and then next, after this is mixed in, we're going to add the bacon and eggs back in. And this is where the pan might get a little messy, so we'll have some fun. Last but not least, the eggs. And I want to get all of this distributed before adding my sriracha. And at the last minute, I'm going to add my green onion, the green part. I do not want the green part of the green onion on the heat for too long, or else it'll wilt and you'll lose the little bit of crunch factor that the green part gives. All right, gonna give a nice squirt of the sriracha hot sauce. And like I said with the hot sauce, it's completely optional. If someone doesn't have the palate for anything spicy, completely omit the hot sauce and this will be a very mild dish. You can always add more hot sauce while you're eating it if you wish to add a little bit more heat to it. And last but not least, we have the green part of our green onion. Ooh. And I think I'm even going to pull it off the heat while these get tossed in. Like I said, this pan still has a lot of heat in it. Plenty of heat to get everything nicely melded. All right, so there you have it. Can't wait to dig in. All right, so now we're at the dinner table. We have our plates served. I have the sriracha and the gluten-free soy sauce for any additional toppings as we eat. Michael opened up a bottle of GoldenEye Pinot Noir and we're ready to dig in. So let's see how it turned out. Mm. Mm. I love this dish. It's so simple to throw together. There are so many awesome flavors between the green onions, the bacon, the different sauces. This is just such a fantastic meal. So I hope you try it as well. Let us know how it turns out. Be sure to stay tuned for next week's video. We have a big trip planned, so we want to share where we're going. Please subscribe for more content like this and give it a thumbs up. Talk to you guys later. Bye.